Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another episode of this board gaming podcast where we talk about board games. Sponsored by Gray Fox Games, our sponsors. Some of us have actually played games this time. Zach, you've missed out on getting to talk about playing board games for a very long time.
I don't know if I'd say missed out, but yes.
You have not had the opportunity.
Abandoned responsibility?
I haven't had the pleasure. Yeah.
Sure. Regardless of whatever the cause may be and your feelings about the cause, you have not had a new board game to talk about in a while that you've played. This week, that's different. So what have you been playing, Zach?
Well, I saw on our Slack channel, in our Looking for Group channel,
Looking for Game channel?
Looking for
Game.
Game.
I always thought it was.
Okay, well.
LFG.
LFG. That's the MMO player in me.
Yep.
LFG is Looking for Group.
That's what it is.
Yeah. But some people were posting about wanting to play a game, and I was just like, well, I haven't played in a game in a long time, so I feel like I'm sort of obliged to.
Months,
some would say. And so it was Boyd, Ian, and then Jeremy. And so that's a Canadian, a Coloradan, a Texan, and then I forget where Ian's from, but somewhere in the United States. I want to say East Coast. So, yeah. But so we decided on Wednesday night, I think. Whatever. On a night, we decided to play a game. We were looking through a couple, and then we decided on Great Western Trail, specifically with the expansion, Rails to the North. And we were playing on Tabletop Simulator. There's a good setup, a good scripted setup for it. And so we booted it up, and we started playing. So this is definitely one of the expansions that is mainly there to add like a new thing. And so what this one does is it adds a bunch of new rails to deliver to. So originally, I don't if you remember, I know it's been a while since you guys have played this game. Once you get to Kansas City,
it has been a long while. Yeah,
depending on how many points you get from your cattle in your hands, you can go farther and farther along the track to deliver and to get more money. But you can, like, the farthest one is like San Francisco, but it's like New York and then San Francisco or something like that. So this one is it vastly increases the rail connections. There's a whole board that's added on top of the top of the board, and it gives you new locations to deliver to, and more specifically, it gives you branches that you can go off of. So it has, like, I want to say 6 or 7 stations that you can start to deliver to, like normal Kansas City, Chicago, St. Louis, that sort of stuff. But then off of those, it actually has rails that connect to different parts, to different cities for you to deliver to, and you have to actually gain access. You have to connect to each of those spaces to actually deliver to them. So there's an aspect of like building out your like rail grid. It's not just if you have enough cow power to get there, or cow points, we'll call them. But it's if you are actually connected to them, and so they're connected with houses, but they're called like branchlets or some weird name like that. But everybody can get access. Like there's 4 squares, and it's a 4-player game, and so you can't ever like block somebody from going to a spot, but you can. Usually, like the first person that goes there can get benefits. They get money or they get certificates, or in the case of delivering to Denver, it costs you less to go there if you're first. But then as it takes longer and longer for you to get there, it costs more. Otherwise, it's mainly the same game, but with that addition, and then with that you get some extra master tiles.
Station master tiles.
Yeah, a couple new buildings and stuff like that. But we played through. I enjoyed it. We did. Let's see. I think I ended up coming second in that one. I tended to focus a good amount on delivering my the cattle. Some people focused a bit more on the actual like cattle they had in their hands. So the quality of their cattle. Some people focused more on moving their trains, their train, all the way up to get a whole bunch of points at the stations. And then Boyd was doing whatever Boyd was doing. He got a gentleman's fourth. Jeremy ended up winning that one. I was the person that ended the game by delivering to Kansas City, or to go to Kansas City, and I hired, or I took the employees and ended up moving the time track thing off the board. And I was 1 point away in my cattle, like in my hand, of being able to deliver to San Francisco, which you have to connect to this time. You can't just get 18 and go there. And had I done that, I would have gotten like 8 or 9 points, and I would have come closer to Jeremy. But he ended up winning comfortably. I want to say he had like 78, and I had like 65 or something like that. But I was expecting to get last because I wasn't I focused on it a little bit, but I felt like I was just going all over the place, but I ended up getting a good amount of points in a bunch of different things, and so I was like, oh, okay, well, that worked out well enough. It was still enjoyable. Tabletop Simulator, still fun. We had a hell of a connection though. Our game got disconnected, I want to say half a dozen times.
Yay!
Yeah, because somebody was making a joke like Ian's next game that actually went smooth. They were like, see, Ian, we just wanted to prove to you that Tabletop Simulator isn't always complete shit.
Yeah, so I think part of it was just that, so Jeremy is up in Canada, and I think just for whatever reason his connection wasn't stable, and so it kept being
it's Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right?
it was all the moose.
Yeah, it's all that socialist internet they have up there.
If there's one thing Canada doesn't have, it's socialized internet.
I know. But yeah, it was we kept getting disconnected. It was definitely to the point where on our last try, we were like, all right, well, if it disconnects again, we're just gonna play another day. But then it finally kept being stable. But the first 3 or 4 times, it was always when Boyd was doing something. And so I was just like, Boyd, stop fucking touching shit. You keep wrecking it.
Stop playing the game.
Yeah.
Classic Boyd.
Yeah. But it was fun to play some games again. But now I'm good, so I'll just have to play a game in like 3 or 4 weeks, and then to re-up. But this will last for a while, obviously, because WoW is in full effect. So
yep,
don't have time for anything else.
His latest one, Cloud Age, is not out yet, or is not widely released yet, or something, right?
So, Alexander Pfister?
Yeah.
It was released this year?
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know if it is.
It's labeled as releasing this year, but it has,
because it won some Game of the Year award already, didn't it? Or was it nominated for Spiel? Maybe it's only out internationally.
Yeah, that might be it.
Maybe an English edition's not hit yet.
Maybe.
But that's going to be his latest one. I've been wanting to see what that one's about, but I don't think it's going to be through.
It's got 39 ratings.
Yeah,
so yeah.
And Capstone is the one publishing it.
That is correct.
It?
It's currently labeled as out of stock, but who knows what that means?
All existing pre-orders will ship when Cloud Age arrives at our fulfillment centers. Okay, so it's looking like in the next 2 weeks
is when yeah.
So we'll see what that one's about.
Yes, we will.
Indeed.
I was looking at Great Western Trail and I was like, oh, that's Great Western Trail's number 10 all time right now on BGG.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Man, I haven't looked at the BGG top 10 in so long.
It's number 10.
Nice.
Right under Twilight Struggle. Twilight Struggle's still struggling against the cult of
hotness.
The new. Yep.
Well, right on. Did you play anything else, Zach?
No, not at all.
I mean, he did.
So you got your
not
one in for the quarter.
All I'm gonna say is I had this entire past week off, and the WoW expansion got released Monday night, so it was just
Yeah, we all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I still don't have any games that I've played board game wise anyway. So I don't have anything really to talk about during this segment yet again. Zach and I are just going to constantly go back and forth with not actually playing games. But Jeff, you continued to play some solo stuff at least. So what did you play this week?
So while I was playing World of Warcraft and usually waiting on something that was going to happen, in my second monitor, or on my phone, I'd be playing Cartographers, which is still fantastic. I played a little bit with the new... I've been playing solo. Solo's fun, especially when that app came out. I guess the main new thing to really talk about with Cartographers is the new set of attack cards. There's going to be the crazy new ones that are going to come with Cartographers Heroes, but there was a promo set. I don't know, they're just different shapes, but they didn't really have extra, abilities like the Heroes ones are going to have, but it was neat seeing different shapes coming out, I guess, like, a square. But nothing particularly wonderful happened. Usually I think the very first time I played Cartographer solo is still my best score, and everything after has really just been either 0 or negative. See, I just played the first game because I didn't really know how to score it at the end, and now that I know how it's scored, I just keep fucking it up.
Yep.
I did play a game of Second Chance, Second Edition, which I don't think there's any real difference between that original First Edition and Second Edition besides the much worse art of the Second Edition. It does come with 5 colored pencils, and I want to say the starter shapes, there might be more, but without taking a closer look at whatever the First Edition's starter shapes are, it's hard to say. But just coming with those 5 different colored pencils, it seems nice. Because I don't remember if the First Edition box came with pencils or not.
I feel like it did.
Yeah, maybe. But the colored the cards are all color coded. Like each set of shapes, or of at least a certain size, are all sort of the same color. Like the 1 squares are yellow, the 2 rectangles are yellow, the 3 little L is yellow, but then like as they get bigger, they get different colors, which kind of makes it, I don't know, more interesting to color your shapes, I guess. Where if like, so you know what turns and such you took. I almost failed out, but my second chance came up with like the 1x2, which is exactly what I needed right at the end of the game to take that second chance. I think I almost filled the whole thing. Oh, you know what? Now this might be entirely down to Paul not finishing reading the rules, but we always ran into, well, what happens when you end the game with people that have the same amount of squares? And it never really had a good tiebreaker for it. What this happens to have, if you are first out, you get to put a 1 in any square, and that counts as filled. So you have like 1 less square, or you have 1 more square filled, 1 less empty square. And so then if it comes down to the tiebreaker where people have the same amount filled, even with that, whoever wrote the first down wins the tiebreaker, if that makes sense.
I think that's what we've done. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I just don't remember the like filling in a square for free as going out first, because you can't fill anything else. That is the particular part I don't recall us doing in the rules. But I thought that was a better end game than the first edition, besides looking 1,000 times worse. It looks like the cover of Gone's Sean Clever. It's bad.
Yes.
It's really, really bad. But, that's fine. And that's games.
Cool. Well then, that wraps up what we've been playing. And we can move on into some bantery banters, which banter about. So here in the States, it was just last week, the Thanksgiving holiday. And so for the first time in I don't even know how long, I didn't go to my grandparents. Even though they're like right up the road, and even though my mom drove all the way from fucking Missouri to go, I was like, nope, not gonna fucking do it. So
partially because somebody drove from Missouri.
That actually less that my mom drove from Missouri, because my mom's been like really good about quarantining out there. Yeah, okay. Especially because like she knew she wanted to make this trip to see her mom and her grandma. And so like my mom's been being really good about it, and my mom like, you know, understands the science and like wears masks, and like she doesn't have a job right now, so she just like hangs out at home. The only time she leaves is to go to the grocery store like once a week. So no, I actually wasn't worried about it for my mom. In fact, if my mom hadn't brought my brother, who was waiting for a COVID result from a hunting friend of his getting COVID that he had been hunting with, my mom was going to stop by our house on Monday before she went out to my grandma's. No, it's my grandma who still goes to fucking her big church service out in bumfuck Flat Earth, Colorado. And doesn't believe in masks and thinks that the vaccine is going to be the Antichrist putting the mark of the beast in a microchip inside of you, and Bill Gates is the Antichrist, but sometimes it's Obama, but sometimes it's, I don't know, Fauci. Whoever she doesn't like. Fauci, you know, yeah. No, so she's the reason I didn't want to go out there, and not just because I don't trust her to, you know, be taking COVID seriously and get Megan and I sick, but also I didn't feel like dealing with any of her horse shit. I would not have been able to keep my mouth shut. So anyway, yeah. So we stayed home, but we still wanted Thanksgiving dinner. So we cooked up a big dinner. Anybody who's listening to this who's in our Slack channel probably saw a bunch of the photos in the random channel, like as the day was going on, but. It started with the night before, we pre-made a really good cinnamon roll recipe that I got from my dad in Michigan. And we prepped that, and she made some pie crusts, and we did a little bit of other prep. Then we woke up in the morning on Thursday, and we cooked, we did over a dozen eggs, I think just like a dozen exactly, eggs into deviled eggs. So we had 2 dozen deviled eggs. Then we roasted a 16-pound turkey for 2 people. Then we made mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, this like honey glazed baked carrots that ended up being fantastic. And then once the turkey was done, I did gravy just from the drippings. Like the only thing I added was a little bit of flour. It was fantastic. And then Megan made a interesting pumpkin pie, but she had made a mistake. She made a mistake.
So she made a bad one.
She made a mistake doing the pie crust, and she at one point she used, I don't remember which way it was, but she was like, "Shit." I went, "What?" And she went, "I used insert A instead of insert B, and A and B are baking powder and baking soda." So at one point she used the wrong baking powder thing, and so the crust just tasted very, very stale. The pie itself was great, but one of my favorite things about any pie is the pie crust, and so the really stale pie crust was detracting. So every night she's been having a slice basically every night, and I just take the front part where there's no crust, and that's my one bite of her pie every night, because the rest of the pie is really good. Like, it's a really good pumpkin pie with like, then she did like a whipped sour cream and pumpkin topping that, and she used like a real pumpkin. Like, that was the other thing we did the night before. She baked a pumpkin. Yeah, it was an awesome feast. All the food was really good. We are finally out of almost everything except the green bean casserole and the turkey. We are still working on those 2, and I think there's like a slice or 2 of pie left. But we're done with everything else. We ate the whole thing of cinnamon rolls. I ate all the deviled eggs basically that day. Like, I made those early.
As is the law.
Exactly. Yeah. What else are you going to do? Are you not just going to constantly shovel deviled eggs in your mouth?
Judge Dredd is going to kick down your fucking front door and send you off to the ISO cubes. I was trying to think of the name for jail cells in Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
And it's ISO cubes. ISO cube deviled eggs. Ugh. I don't even want to know what a Jailhouse deviled egg tastes like.
Garbage is what I would assume.
Toilet wine, man.
I mean, it depends. I mean, how hard is it to make a bad deviled egg? It's just hard-boiled eggs and then mix the yolk up with some mayonnaise and mustard and sprinkle it with paprika. Like, it's the easiest fucking thing on the planet. I don't know why I don't make them more often, considering how much I like them. It was delicious. And then I'm trying to remember if we, I think we just kind of hung out. That was a weird day because we cooked all day, and we got done cooking at 3, and so we had lunch instead of dinner, really. And then we went downstairs, and I remember at one point, we were watching something, and I was getting drowsy, and I just wanted to go to bed. She's like, you realize it's only 6:30, right? It's like, what the fuck? It feels like it's 10. It feels like I've been up all goddamn day. But really, we were just productive all day. We kept up on the dishes, so there wasn't a huge pile of dishes when we were done. That was also nice. It was good. It was good. And I didn't fuck up the turkey. I was really worried I was going to fuck up the turkey. Next time I do this, the only change is I'm going to do a little bit less salt in the brine. Because, boy, was the dripping salty. And consequently, so was the gravy. The gravy was very salty.
Salty drippings.
So, yeah. So that was my Thanksgiving. Did you guys do anything for your Thanksgivings? To have a special meal or anything?
I saw Jeff made cranberry sauce.
Uh-huh.
How was that?
It was good. I hadn't made that recipe before, or anything like that recipe, because my family usually uses the can that, is then served where you can see the edges of the can.
Still as does 80% of the families, I think.
Yeah.
Still.
And they have some really old recipe, I'm sure, because it has marshmallows in it, of cranberry sauce,
Marshmallow with cranberry sauce. What?
Yeah.
Gross.
Like the canned stuff and mixed with marshmallows and something else. I don't know. But boy, did it have a lot of sugar in that recipe I made. It was like a cup and a half of sugar for 24 ounces of cranberry sauce, or 24 ounces of cranberries, like a cup of orange juice, a cup of water. That was pretty much it. Orange peel and cinnamon stick. But I just did a small thing with one other friend and his girlfriend at their place down the street, and
nice.
Had some fun. Played the new Jackbox.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Party Pack 7, I want to say. I liked most of it. There's one where you have to give a presentation, and someone else controls the words and slides. Well, everyone at the beginning of the game puts in 3 prompts, and then when someone has to go up and speak, their assistant chooses the prompt out of the pool that everyone wrote down, and then they get to choose from a plethora of funny pictures and sayings, but you have to talk for 30 seconds each, and there's 30 seconds, or maybe 10, 15 seconds at the start, then 30 seconds, and 30, 30, 30, and then a couple seconds at the end, so it's quite a bit of talking straight through. That some people wouldn't be able to handle that, I think. And it was okay. There was... I should probably just pull up all of the names of the day. Names of the games. There was Blather Round, which was fun. You get 3 different words or places, things, person, place, thing, ideas, and then you have to try and describe it through very simple... it starts with, it's about a huge pale critter, and people just start throwing out words, and you get a bunch of kind of pre-generated sentences. So it's about a huge pale critter and a big wet place, and then people are guessing Little Mermaid, Free Willy 2, and you just have to kind of keep guessing, and whatever words that you're guessing, they can use in one of their sentences to be it's a lot like Free Willy 2. So you might know that's are they saying it's a movie? Because usually it just gives you it tells you if it's a thing, a person, a presenter. I usually got it, and the faster that they get it, the more points you get, and that's how you get a winner. one of my favorites was mine was River Nile, and it was like it started off with like it's a wet area, and someone put almost immediately River of Nile, which is not right, or not Nile of River or something like that, and I was like, all right, and then I just kept repeating, it's a lot like Nile of River. It's a lot like Nile of River. It's a lot like Nile of River. And it took them too long to just put River Nile. That one was a lot of fun. And would be more fun with more people because you would be throwing out more words that they could use. There's a new drawing one called Champed Up, which is like almost like a fighting game themed. You draw different fighters that are trying to win a certain category. So like you get a category of like the champion of dog people. So draw a fighter that looks like they would be the champion of dog people. Then after that round's over, someone gets your picture with no context, and you have to try and draw someone that would fight that person. Then you go on to other categories. Basically, you do 2 rounds of that. But if you continue playing, all of your drawings from previous rounds you can use to tag out into later rounds. So once you've played even a full game, you go into a brand new game, and you can still bring in fighters in the like second round that maybe you had like a favorite one you drew. But then it's just voting on whichever one you think is the most appropriate for champion of whatever. Which would, of course, also be more fun with more people. There's Quiplash 3, which is sort of just fill in the most surprising place to find a missing contact lens. And then you're just writing in funny answers, like the ceiling, someone else's eye. And then people vote on whichever one they think is funnier. Okay. Quiplash has been around forever.
Yeah.
My personal favorite was The Devil and the Details. So this is like themed off of TV shows, and you're doing little mini games on your phone that are based off of these different episodes' themes. So the one that we did was like everyone was stuck at home and couldn't go on vacation, so they were going to throw a luau at their house. But this sitcom, you're all demons from hell.
Okay.
And you're trying to fit into the neighborhood, so all of the things that they're doing are more devilish than your usual TV sitcom. The hook on that one is you have to go try and do these tasks, and it's a lot of communicating with other people in the game because you have like a family score that you're trying to get up, and it'll be like get someone to come and fix the AC to the house. One person does that, but they need someone else to go in there and tell them what to do. So you'll have like different dials on your phone, and the other person's telling you how they need to be aligned or what numbers to put in. There's another one where it's like you need and you're playing as different roles in this house, like mom, dad, child, teenager. I want to say there's even like a pet that you can be. But like the child wants to go get his allowance, so he needs one of the parent players to come and help them, and then the child needs to tell the adult, like they have a wallet on their screen and they need to be like, rotate it to the left, rotate it to right, flick up, flick down, and that gets all of your scores up. Then there's like selfish tasks where only you get points because there is a winner at the end, but it doesn't give any points for the family score, so it gets your personal win at the end up. But there's also a meter if you do too many selfish things. It causes a family crisis that you have to deal with before you can get more family score. And you do this over 3 days. I like that one a lot. It's about 15 minutes and was interesting. And it seemed like it had a lot of variability because there was like 8 or 10 different episode themes. Like the luau one had a bunch of like fill the backyard with sand, and you had to do a bunch of like little mini game tasks. Of the let's say, Among Us equivalent of complexity, where it's fairly simple, but was certainly interesting. So yeah, that's what I did for Thanksgiving. I played that and a lot of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So much.
Cool. Yeah, aside from the massive amounts of food I ate for Thanksgiving, it's been a kind of a uneventful week. I had the whole week off. I only worked I worked last Saturday and Sunday, but then I was off Monday through Friday, and then I was back to work this Saturday. I didn't have I didn't have World of Warcraft to keep me entertained. I mean, I could have gotten it, but I've managed to never take that plunge, and I don't intend to start now. I just I played a little bit more RimWorld, played some more Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm having a harder and harder time with just the shit fucking graphics. Like, good God, the faces are just so awkward in that fucking game. And then I did give Jedi another try, and I almost immediately got raffle stomped by one of those same monsters. So that I did avoid the one that was actually like a huge name one in the tunnel down below. That I talked about that had killed me like 3 times in a row, and I kept getting frustrated because I was losing all my XP, and it was pissing me off. So I ignored him, and I went on and did the rest of the, like, get into this, ruin this vault thing or whatever, which I love that, like, you get in and it's like this big, like, thing, like, you get in and you find, like, a little hologram that's like, oh, you made it, you figured out how to get in here, you're awesome. And then, like, the camera pans up and it's just open to the sky. It's like what? No, somebody was trying to get it. Like, you find like little like force sensitive things you can touch to get clips, and one of them's like, this person's looking for this place, and it's like, what? They didn't find that you could just rappel in the top.
They never noticed that shit.
No. But then you come out of there and like one of those little frog guys pops up, and he killed me 3 times in a row, and I finally said, fuck it. I'm going to put it on the lowest difficulty, because I was playing on Jedi Knight, which I figured, like, okay, Jedi Knight, like, yeah, it's going to be tough, like, but there's, like, Jedi Master and then, like, Jedi fucking crazy person difficulty. So there's, like,
Yes.
2 difficulties beyond it, and then it's, like, second to last. And I was like, that's, like, the easy one. It's, like, people who are new to, I don't remember what they call it, like, sword combat or something.
There's a lot of dodging and parrying involved.
Yeah. And so I kicked it down to story mode, which bottoms out like enemy aggression and enemy damage and maximizes dodge time or whatever, or parry forgiveness.
Yeah.
And now it's almost too fucking easy. Like, I need another difficulty in between. Like, I need Jedi Padawan. Like, I need story mode, Padawan, and Knight. And I need to be Jedi Padawan, or like just Jedi, let me just like, so story mode is Padawan. You're a toddler with a lightsaber and they're treating you with kid gloves, but I'm not a master, but I'm a Jedi. I can walk around with a lightsaber and fight some things. So I don't know. I might bounce back up and just force myself to get good scrub. But I might keep playing on story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my suggestion.
One of those 2 things. It's a balance of trying to find what's more enjoying for me. The, like, just the story with no, like, challenge whatsoever in fighting monsters. Because, like, after I turned it down, I went back to, like, the big named guy who was so hard before, and I just raffle stomped him. It wasn't even fun. It was like, well, okay. That guy, all right. So it's a balance of, like, either the combat makes me so mad that it's, like, flashback to high school and I smashed controllers at games, or it's just like, okay, well, I guess that's a thing I did. And then other than that, on the PC, I've been playing RimWorld still, and I'm still really liking RimWorld. I'm a little disappointed it took me so long to get RimWorld, because it's what I always imagined. Dwarf Fortress, is that the ASCII fucking game? Yeah. It's what I always imagined Dwarf Fortress would, like, when people would tell stories about Dwarf Fortress, like, that's what I imagined in my head was RimWorld. Different setting, obviously, but, and so now getting to actually see that with, like, reasonable graphics, I'm really, really enjoying. Even if I am like getting increasingly tough enemies that my people are having a harder time dealing with, and I really want to just launch my fucking pyromaniac character into the sun, because they keep burning shit to the ground. So, but yeah, that's what I've been playing. I don't have a new game with an update that sucked away my life like you guys had with WoW.
Well, that's a bummer for you.
Yeah,
Sucks to be you, nerd.
I get a new Xbox on Thursday, and I got my 4K TV too. I upgraded to a 4K TV.
4K 60?
Yes, 4K 60. I think. I don't know.
It's probably 60.
Now I'm curious.
I would. Did you pay a lot of money for it?
No.
Okay, it's 60.
Okay. As opposed to like 120, or what's the pay a lot for?
120. 120.
120.
Yeah,
Okay.
4K 120. Yeah. Like an LG 4K 120 65 inch is like $1,800?
Yeah. I looked at some of those and I was like, damn. It's like, I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
I haven't hooked it up, so like this is also the first smart TV I've owned.
So all the smart shit sucks.
And that's
It's always
so
sucked. It's always been slower than anything else that you own, but everything else you own is also smart. So it doesn't matter if your TV's smart.
Exactly. And for this TV, like one of the things when I was looking up like reviews and stuff about them, it was like so it has ads that you cannot opt out of in the smart TV settings. And so it's like, well, I'll just not ever do anything so I don't have any ads to deal with, and like just not worry about smart TV shit. And I think that's where I'm going to fall on that. So I have a smart TV that I'm not ever going to use as a smart TV. So,
yep.
That seems right.
It is my third, at least, Samsung in a row. So, got that going for me.
I've had this Sharp 1080 120 for like 8 years now.
Okay.
It was a very nice TV when I bought it, so it continues to still be very nice.
My last TV was a 1080 I got in 2014. I was like, 6 years is long enough. I can justify upgrading for a few $100s.
Yeah. I got it when I was in Denver the first time, before I moved to Ohio and then moved back.
Okay.
Which was 8 years ago. 2012.
Yeah. I did also upgrade the size, too. I went from a 46-inch to a 50-inch.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You can almost see
You can almost see the TV
Yeah.
from your couch now.
Almost.
Yeah. I think that's all I've got for banter. I think I've worn out my banters. Zach, did you have anything else besides WoW that you wanted to banter about?
Nope. No, just WoW is all I've been doing. So.
Oh, I will share real quick my shit fucking afternoon that I had today, since a lot of people who listen to the podcast aren't in Slack channel. And I can share it a lot quicker than I did in Slack. I drew it out in Slack. I left work today and had a flat tire, which sucks, but isn't that bad. I've changed, I don't know, dozens of tires. And the little Corolla I'm driving now is a light fucking car. It's easy to jack up. No big deal. So I changed the tire. I put the donut on, and I start to lower the car back down. And that's when I realized that the donut was definitely also flat. So I had to walk the donut to the convenience store on the corner and spend $1.50 to inflate it, because it was definitely just that it's like a 20-year-old donut and had went flat. It wasn't like, it doesn't have a hole in it. It holds air just fine. And then walk back and put it back on my car. And so like I was all ready to come home and like relax, and I had to deal with that shit, which sucked. So there you go.
There you go.
Moving on.
Moving on.
So yeah. No bloody minute this week, but Jeff, you did say that the season is officially wrapped up.
Yes, finally. The season is finally over. Ended up with the Chaos Renegades team, the other Jeff, taking first place with I think the last game tied, which meant that he was locked in for first. Chaos Renegades have like the 3 big guys and like an orc and a dark elf and a bunch of humans and a goblin. And he like fucking crushed me in our last game. I want to say, when was the first game played? August 15th was around the first week. Because I think Ant and I did have the first match of the season. And yeah, August, September, October, November, 3.5 months to play 7 rounds.
Jeez.
Wow.
Took forever. But the new edition's out. And my copy is coming in Wednesday, I want to say. So I'll have the new models and the new rulebook in hand.
Sweet.
Don't know when I'm actually going to play a game with the new rules. I know Fumble has some new Unity version coming out that's going to replace their Java version, and it's going to have the new rule set in there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Blood Bowl will continue. Someone's doing a fucking tournament in Colorado Springs like soon.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's just like, Jesus. It's only going to be 8 to 10 people. But that's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blood Bowl exists.
Right.
They announced the new Dark Angels Codex, so I'm excited about that.
Ooh.
Ah.
I don't know what that is, but
It's
I know
Space
when an
Marine.
ooh is needed.
It's the new, it's the Space Marine chapter I played, besides my Imperial Guard, and they did not come out with that new Codex when the new set was announced. They've gone through like Space Wolves and Blood Angels, and Dark Angels are up next. But I sure would like to see something that's not just fucking Space Marines for this new edition, because that's all it is. I don't know. Chaos Space Marines, I think, have gotten a new codex. Specifically the Nurgle dudes. And then I think it's all just fucking Space Marines. Give us some new fucking non-Space Marine codexes, please.
That's asking way too much, Jeff.
It is. It's Games Workshop, and it's asking too much. No Kingdom Death.
Nope. Probably not for a while.
Little while, yep. They did release a new 1.6 update card pack. It's just sort of like a rebalance of certain cards, like certain hit location cards that I guess could be abused. They've balanced, and then one of the like settlement locations, the Barber Surgeon, no one ever built because it required pottery, and no one likes pottery because it kind of sucks. And so now you can build it, and then there's certain items in there that require pottery, but you don't need to have pottery to build it, because there are other items that we never have used because we've never had pottery, and now we can build the Barber Surgeon and get the Scavenger Kit, and I think there's like a first aid kit or something in there. A lot of stuff that was like promos with like some limited edition models, I guess, are in it, and some small balancing tweaks, but nothing major content-wise, hence going from 1.5 to 1.6.
Right on.
So, and I don't think anyone bought it, so we won't be playing it. I think the reasoning was, I haven't gotten anything else I bought from them, so why bother now?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Cool. CJ got it. CJ did get it. That's how I knew it came out, is because CJ texted me like, I got 1.6.
Yeah, because he gets like everything, right?
He has a lot of stuff. He has a lot of even the pinup models, because he's a pervert. Made our music, everyone.
Yes.
And that's no Kingdom Death.
Gotcha. Right on. Well, then I think that lets us move over to some news and Kickstarters.
First up in news this week, there is this fancy design contest for solo stuff.
Yeah. So it's the solo mode design contest. And it is it's really kind of cool. So it aims to do like 4 things here according to them. Eliminate a primary design challenge, the creation of physical prototypes. Introduce free new games into existing collections. Provide a way to reclaim shelf space in one's collection, and feed the community pastime at a time that is good for soloing. So essentially, what this is it's a design competition where you can enter and submit a solo mode for a game that lacks a good solo mode. And preferably one that you and other people already own. And it could be things from like, you can have like multiple scenarios, cooperative play, all that stuff, but it needs to work for solo play. Like that's it's in the name, solo mode. You can use whatever components you like. So you could say like, hey, for this solo game I've designed, you need a copy of Agricola and Catan. And if you've got those two games, you can play this solo mode. And then you lay out your rules. Everyone can enter 1 or 2 submissions. It has to be like a first edition, basically, as far as the public is concerned. It has to be yours, along with potential credited collaborators. Copyrights remain yours. The contest isn't claiming any copyrights. And your submission can't be in the hands of an actual publisher. But you submit them, and then other people have a chance to download them and play them, and then everybody votes on them, and then they will announce who the winners are. They have a few different things. So The Hill, I don't know why they're calling it The Hill, will be the top game that's chosen. There's also going to be The Clamp, which is a special accolade for anyone who their submission meets the following constraint, which is not more than a single page of printable new content. It doesn't keep you from using other components and things, but they do suggest that they need to be very common playing things like pawns or dice or cards, things like that. So yeah. Then they have a bunch of other rules. It's all being ran on BGG, so they have rules about submitting it as a variant in the forum for the respective base game, how to title your threads, how to post as a thread, all of that kind of stuff. And then they have a schedule. So registration already started 2 weeks ago. Registration ends on January 1st. So if this is your first time hearing about it, but you're interested, you have a month to complete and register. Then February 1st is when things start being released. That's when everybody plays their rules. You start playing, votes start being cast. Then the February 8th is the ending period for edits. So if you release it on the 1st and then holy shit, find something's broken, you have until the 8th to get your edit in. Then February 28th is the end of releasing, and then they will announce all of the results and prize disbursements and everything on March 12th. So little 3-4 month long process here. They're also doing stuff like the pledge pool the prize pool is entirely driven by pledges. They do also suggest any solo modes that you actually like and enjoy, maybe make a small PayPal donation to the people who designed it. Cause hey, they gave you something of value. You enjoyed playing it. Maybe give them $1. Things like that. So I don't know. Seems kind of cool. And I agree with them that this is an excellent time to do such a thing. Hey, you're at home alone with a bunch of board games. Here's a way to play some of them solo.
Seems
neat. It's a cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's solo mode. So go jump over, check that out on BGG if that interests you. Next up on news.
Board Game Alliance?
Huh?
Board Game Alliance?
No, Board Game Arena.
Arena! What's Alliance? Is that a store?
I don't know what Board Game Alliance is.
Gotcha. Anyways, Board Game Arena is doing a advent calendar for digital games for their tabletop playing site.
So Board Game Arena, for those of you who are unaware, is a place to play board games online. And it, like Tabletop Simulator and Board Game Core and drawing blanks on some of the other ones. But all of those online board game places, they've blown up over the course of 2020 for obvious reasons. And so they just recently posted an update talking about basically it starts out, it's been a rough year and still is. But they give a couple of interesting stats here and there, that they have now close to 5 million player accounts on Board Game Arena. But the big thing of this update is that they are announcing the Opus Magnum calendar. Opus Magnum being Latin for masterpiece, also can be used as work well done. And so it's a special full month of new games. So starting on December 1st, you will be able to click a little box that will give you a daily gift showing you the release for the day. So one new game release each day for 31 days. Classics, novelties, famous titles, it'll all be kind of mixed and matched in there. And they will release each time the moon rises, which is an odd way to state a time, in Paris. So each night, I guess, in Paris, whatever time the sun sets in Paris, is what time they will release their new game for the day. You can click the calendar to see the new games, find them listed in this post, and then there's a search on the calendar. Or if you come each day and click on the gift, you get trophies. You know, they're gamifying it because everything's gamified in the world now. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. That'll add a whole bunch of new games to the Board Game Arena catalog. And, fun little twist on an advent calendar.
Yeah, we'll see. They say it's going to be old games, new games, trash, and not trash. So
yeah.
I look forward to seeing what happens. Can't all be bangers.
No, but maybe most of them will be, or at least enough that it won't matter.
Yes. And then last up on news, the Gra Roku Awards, also known as the Polish Game of the Year Awards, have been announced.
Yeah. So we didn't even know this was a thing, but it's a thing. So the Gra Roku, and none of us speak Polish, so who knows if that's even close to the right pronunciation.
I guarantee it's not.
Probably not. Odds are against us. So they have a bunch of, they have 6 categories, 6 main categories that they announce winners from, and then they pick, of those 6, one of them wins Game of the Year. So the categories and their winners, Family Game, The Quest for El Dorado from Rainer Knizia, Advanced Game, Brass Birmingham. We're assuming, because those are immediately 2 older games, that this is they just released in Poland finally. I don't know.
Or at some point this year.
Yes. Children's Game, Zombie Kids Evolution, Thematic Game, Nemesis, 2-player game, Carcassonne the Castle, and party game, Sushi Go Party. And of those 6, Brass Birmingham is the one they announced as their Game of the Year. An additional kind of interesting category that they did is Author of the Year, which is Designer of the Year. And that went to Adam Kwapinski, who's a Polish designer who designed Nemesis, which won Thematic Game. So, good for him.
Nemesis is pretty good.
I've only had Zach loosely teach me the basics.
Very loosely.
I would like to play it at some point.
I'm curious what they mean by nicest game.
So apparently, further down in the comments, somebody clarifies that that's likely a Google Translate error, and that it's supposed to be prettiest, most beautiful, nicest looking.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And
Best
that one
style.
Yeah.
That
Everdell.
was won by Everdell. Yep.
Yeah, that makes more sense now. Okay.
Because they do have a few other categories that aren't part of those 6 that choose the overall winner. Like Chronicles of Crime Noir won Best Expansion. Debut of the year was Magdalena Slowinska. I don't know how to pronounce Polish last names. For the game Minerals, which I've not heard of.
I have not either.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's always cool to see what other countries and things pick for different games.
Not just the Germans
to win categories.
Taking over the world. The board game awards.
Yeah, so we've now covered, we almost always cover the BGG awards, which you could say are the American awards. We cover Spiel, which is the German awards. We covered the Portuguese awards at least once on the show, and now we've covered the Polish awards. So we're really being multicultural with our award coverage here on the Mile High Game, guys. Somebody needs to get on tuning us into a Canadian board game award. And if one doesn't exist, hey, Canadian listeners, get on that. But that's it for news.
Yes.
So we can move along to some Kickstarters.
First up on Kickstarter this week, we have Nemo's War, 2nd edition, expansion, Ultimate Edition. If you want Nemo's War, this is the Kickstarter you get. Kickstarter.
Yes.
Nemo's War is very well funded, 213,000 of its $20,000 goal, just over 4,300 backers, and still a week left to pledge this one at its most popular pledge of $89 for the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah. So Nemo's War, for those of you who are not aware, is a game that's been around for a little while. And it is, or originally at least was, a purely solo game. It's won multiple Golden Geek, been nominated for multiple Golden Geeks. It's had other expansions that have added like cooperative play and stuff like that.
Nemo's War was originally from 2009.
Yeah, so it's an older game.
It kind of looks like the original Brass.
Yes. So they've added expansions over the years, and this Kickstarter is no different. It adds a new expansion as well. The Journey's End expansion. It has new manual between voyages guides, new characters, upgrades to the Nautilus, new motives, finale cards, bunch of new adventure cards, tokens, things like that. And comes in environmentally friendly cardboard packaging so that it will be able to be stored nicely in your existing Nemo's War box, which I actually really appreciate that. Like, I hate, because I don't want to ever throw away, like, nice expansion boxes, but also, like, I try to fit everything in as few boxes as possible, and it all just sometimes feels wasteful. So, anyhow, the big deal from this one is the Ultimate Edition. So the Ultimate Edition is everything. So full manuals, voyage guides for everything, game board, bunch of upgrades, characters, some new stuff that's going to be added, like competitive mode. So now Nemo's Wars, it can be a 2-player competitive game. That's also in that Journey's End expansion. I missed that above. But that includes some new minis, wooden blocks, whole bunch of tokens, minis, things like that. And what surprised me is knowing that this is an older game that has multiple expansions. I was expecting this to be like well over $100. It's $89 for the Ultimate Edition, which is pretty fucking cool.
They've spent their money on not minis.
Yeah.
There's like 2 ship minis and then like the Nautilus mini.
Yep.
And that's about it minis-wise.
Yeah.
Everything else is like cardboard and cubes and cards.
Yep. Yeah. So I've heard nothing
and generic dice.
And
Yes.
very generic, simple dice. I've heard nothing but great things about Nemo's War as a solo game. Like if you're interested in playing board games solo, it's supposed to be actually like a great example of solo board gaming done right, like really telling a story and fitting solo play well. So I'm very intrigued by this. I've always kind of had a vague idea in the back of my head that I would like Nemo's War, and now seeing it like fully available, and I've gotten used to always having a board game just set up on the main table downstairs. So maybe. I just wish it was going to be here sooner than December 2021, because hopefully by that point, I'll be back to playing real board games. Like, I wish I could have seen this in, like, March or April, and it could have delivered now. But, alas, was not meant to be.
This is from the designer that also made that Pillars of Eternity board game.
Yes. That is also really hard to find.
Chris Taylor.
Yeah. So fun little anecdote, because I am always eager to share embarrassing stuff about myself because I'm a glutton for punishment. So Nemo's War, if you don't know, is a reference to Captain Nemo from the book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. When I was a kid in school, this had to have been like late elementary, maybe early middle school. So like, I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th-ish, somewhere in that realm. I was learning, to spell things and I learned everything phonetically. Like, that's how a lot of stuff is taught here in America for learning English. You learn phonetics and, like, sounding out words. And it might have been even earlier than any of those grades I mentioned. I don't know when this was. Anyhow, I remember getting in a very, very heated argument. My dad has never let me forget this, but I got in a very heated argument with my dad because I was trying to pronounce this book that I was reading phonetically. And so I was trying to argue very, very firmly that it was 20,000 leagues under the sea, and not leagues, and that my dad was an idiot who didn't know how to say words. As you can imagine, that argument did not go over well. My father did not like having his, 10-year-old or however old I was telling me he was an idiot who didn't know how to say words. So, yeah, 20,000 leagues under the sea. Yeah, so that's Nemo's War Ultimate Edition and a new expansion. The expansion is only $30 if you already have Nemo's War and want that. It's by far that most popular pledge Jeff was talking about. So go check it out.
And it is significantly rated as best solo, as in, if it's 2, 3, or 4 player, it is very much not recommended. It's not even recommended to play it more than 1 player.
Well, so I wonder how much of that, though, has to do with, ratings, before there was even a co-op variant.
With the expansions, yeah.
Because it might have been one of those things where people were just you literally cannot play it with anything other than 1.
It does say 1 to 4 players on the main page, so.
Yeah. Ugh.
There's probably some bad multiplayer mode, so.
Maybe.
But I'm sure the expansions have fixed that anyway.
Yeah. I could see, cooperative with 2 players if you... Well, I mean, I don't really know how the game's played, but I feel like most solo games I could see playing with, Megan and just making the decisions together. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. But
yeah.
Anyhow, next up on Kickstarter.
Next up on Kickstarter, we have Fly Away. Fly Away is just funded $18,000 of its $7,500 goal. A little over 400 backers, and just over a week left to pledge this one, which you can at its most popular pledge level of 45 American US dollars.
Yeah. So Fly Away, a squawking fun game about bird migration. I love that little subtext they got there, or I don't know what that's called, but I like it. Squawking fun game. So in Fly Away, you are taking on the role of bird conservationists who are trying to help birds complete their migratory paths. So essentially, the board is a map of the world with different potential routes all mapped out. And birds are going to fly from the north to the south in this migration because you're only doing, I guess, the autumn portion of the migratory journey. And so as players, you take turns going through and you draw some cards. There's foul play cards, spelled bird foul, not foul. And then you get wing it cards, and the foul cards are detriments, and the wing it cards can be used to either counter those detriments or be used to add to your routes. Routes are done like road style in Catan. They're the little long rectangles. And on your turn, you get to place 3 of them. At least one of the 3 must touch existing ones of your color. And the goal is to complete a bird's route from wherever its nesting is up north to wherever it is trying to fly south. Whoever is the one to place the final piece connecting those lines scores the bird. And beyond that, it gets a little vague. There's some other side goals about types of birds and things like that. But ultimately, you play until one of 3 things happens, which I lost in this Kickstarter because it's not in the same place as the how to play.
It's about halfway. It's the top of how to play.
There it is. 3 circumstances. One person reaches 100 points, somebody saves 6 birds, or you go through the entire deck of foul play cards. After that point, you tally up all your scores, including points from various cards that might add points at the end of the game, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. So, I don't know. It sounds kind of interesting. It sounds like it might be a little too simple for my personal tastes. But I do like the kind of competitive, like, hey, we've got to finish this route, but we're all trying to be the last one to place the piece that makes the route. I think that's kind of interesting. I'm also not sure, like, some of the pictures show routes going like east-west, but they made it seem like birds only fly south. So I don't know how, like, if you just use that as that one of your pieces must connect to existing. So, like, you're like, all right, well, I want to get over to this other route, so I have to just step over that way. I don't know.
From what they explain, it seems like you can place links however way you choose.
Yes.
But you cannot complete a route that would go north and then have to come back south.
So can they go east-west so they can come south for a bit and then go east for a bit and then go south again?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. But you can't
you can never go north.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can make the links do that, but you just can't complete a route using a route that does that, I guess.
That makes kind of sense.
Yeah.
So.
All of the cards have bird pictures on them. Cough, wingspan, cough.
Yeah, I was gonna say this seems like one of the first games I've seen that's been influenced by Wingspan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Birds are going to be the next hot theme. Mars is over. It's all birds now.
I don't know if we mentioned it's all Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Northwest Australia, Japan. Sort of that area is the map.
I wasn't quite sure. Which actually I do see up here at the top. If I looked at their very first picture, I could have seen that the map was zoomed in on that specific region.
Yes.
But considering the whole company and group is based out of Singapore, that makes sense. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single white dude that is making this game. For once.
Yeah, if you scroll down to all the people involved, it is a very diverse bunch of people, none of which are generic white guys.
Majority women?
Yes. 4 women to
5.
3 men. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yep, 5.
Yep.
So yeah, that is Flyaway.
Yeah, it looks neat, and it doesn't seem too expensive either.
Oh, and apparently the people involved had previously worked with BirdLife International Asia on a brochure for bird conservation, and that got them interested in bird migration. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, neat.
Indeed.
It was funded very quickly.
Yes.
And then, last up on Kickstarters today, we have Aqua Garden. Very well funded, $148,000 of its $15,000 goal, just over 1,800 backers, and let's say about a week left to pledge for this one, which you can for its most popular pledge of $62.
Yeah, so Aqua Garden is a game that you're designing an aquarium is the theme. And they mention in the Kickstarter that it is heavily inspired by
SpongeBob SquarePants.
No. Heaven and Ale. So it uses that same kind of central track where you're going around and whoever's last in the track takes their next turn. And so you can jump way ahead, but then you might not get a turn for a while. And essentially you're moving around this track collecting fish and occasionally getting money vaguely somehow, and using that to place things onto your personal player board, which is your own little aquarium. You have a little worker guy who can move around, and he's only ever adjacent to 2 aquariums at a time. So when you take fish from the main board, you can only put it in whichever aquarium, one of the 2 aquariums that little meeple is next to. There's special things where different groups want to work, different conditions for the fish. So small fish form schools and are happy together. Turtles love seaweed, but small fish and turtles are afraid of sharks. Things take up different amounts of space in tanks, and each tank has its own little size limit for how much you can put into it. And then ultimately at the end of the game, whoever collects the different sets score points, and then whoever has the most points ends up winning. So easily one of the coolest things about this Kickstarter is the absolute batshit crazy amount of unique fish and aquatic meeples that are all screen printed, nice wooden meeples. Clownfish, seaweed, striped fish, turtles, sharks, seahorses, coral, whale sharks, and then that's just like what was initially there. They've unlocked a ton more through like stretch goals and stuff. 17 different types of printed wooden pieces, and they look good. Like the screen printing on them looks really fantastic.
They're definitely some of the better meeples I have ever seen.
Fuck you, Dinosaur Island.
For sure. They also, one of their last stretch goals, they unlocked the designer Totsuka Cho. Their previous game, The Arctic, will now be included in every base pledge because they can. And it includes rules to use the penguin and maybe the polar bear, definitely the penguin minis in your aquarium. So you can have an aquarium with a penguin in it.
It says you can mix the pieces of this game with Aqua Garden and play.
Yeah. And somewhere down below it mentioned like specifically the penguin.
I see. Oh, maybe that's just the
expansion or
rules
something.
they've come up with so far.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how that all plays into that, but
I want to say we may have talking about the Arctic, but maybe never did. It looks familiar.
It vaguely looked familiar. I'm not sure. But yeah. They've unlocked a ton of stretch goals because they started doing them by like 100% marks. It's like 600% funded. We do this, 700%. And they hit the 1,000% funded. So that adds the Sea Jewel expansion. I don't know how to pronounce that fucking word. Sea otter and another word I don't know how to pronounce. Cleo? I don't know.
Coelacanth.
Coelacanth. Cool. I don't know what that is.
It's a ancient fish that they thought was extinct, and then they found out that it's still alive.
Yeah. Shipping's pretty reasonable. $18 to the US, $18 to the EU, and $13 to Asia. So, yeah. I don't know. Looks kind of cool. Definitely love the screen printed
super cool
meeple bits. And I like to have it in ale, so I'm down to play another game with that kind of mechanic in it. Yeah. So that's Aqua Garden.
And that's it for Kickstarters.
That is indeed all the Kickstarters that we have to talk about kickstarting. And I think that pretty much wraps up everything for the episode. 'Cause I don't think we have any listener feedback this week. So
Don't think so.
Jeff, if people wanted to get a hold of us, what's one of the ways they could do so?
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can also get a hold of us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have our Instagram account @MHGameGuys. Facebook.com/MHGameGuys to like and follow us over on Facebook. Our website, milehighgameguys.com, still exists. It's a bit out of date. For more up-to-date like episode posts and stuff, go to punchboardmedia.com because we do keep up with those posts, and so links to Kickstarters and news items that we talk about, if you want to check those out yourself, jump over and check us out over on punchboardmedia.com. You can also, while you're over there, check out all the other awesome members of Punchboard Media because we keep adding more and more people to the network. So all kinds of awesome content over there. You can also, through those links, make your way over to our Slack channel. As we've talked about in this episode and every episode, there's always some kind of shenanigans going on Slack. Zach played his first board game in forever this week with people from Slack. I shared Thanksgiving food photos over on Slack. All kinds of stuff going on. Among Us, when we play, gets organized over on Slack. It's a great spot to be taking out with a bunch of awesome people and talk about all kinds of random things and make fun of me a lot. There's just so much making fun of Adrian. So another great reason to be there. And finally, we have our BGG guild number 2731. There's a Q&A thread over there. We've said multiple times one of the first things we'll do when we get back to in studio towards the end of this COVID stuff is that we'll do a big, huge Q&A stream with all three of us back here in the studio. So if you have questions for us, jump over there, throw them in that thread. And although I just said that was lastly, Twitch channel I almost forgot about, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. We do occasionally stream games over there. Still, we did Terraforming Mars several weeks ago, months ago, a while ago. And we were supposed to do something over Thanksgiving, and then we all went into food comas and forgot. / didn't actually organize it. But we will do more streams over there, us, here, for the Mile High Game Guys. And then every other Tuesday, the Mile High Dungeon Delvers take it over and turn it into a D&D channel. And so Leander is running an awesome campaign over there. We're having a bunch of fun. And we even got a fancy new video intro. So check us out. The next one will be Tuesday, not the one that just passed, but the one coming up. So check us out at like 8 p.m. Mountain Time for Dungeon Delvers. That's now officially all of that. Which brings us pretty much to the end of the show. So thanks for listening. We also want to thank our sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for continuing to support the show. Go over to their website, grayfoxgames.com. We're out of coupon codes for them, but you can still find a bunch of awesome games over there. You can pre-order for some of their more recent Kickstarters that finished up. Any of that kind of stuff that you want, and find some Gray Fox exclusives for stocking stuffers or something. I don't know. Do what you want. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement for us?
Of course. Gray Fox Games. Quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, you're not a snake, and I'm not an ocelot. We're men with names.
Thanks for clearing up for me that ocelot is not actually an ocelot. Yeah, that's the show. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Vampire Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.